Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Voices from the Mausoleum, and welcome back to an episode of Found Footage Fridays with my co-host, Tom Romer.
Welcome back, everybody.
It feels like it's been a long time.
It hasn't, though. It hasn't.
It always feels like it, though.
We did a special episode in between there, but
And so I think maybe that's why.
that's what it broke it up a little bit.
It up a little bit. So we're still making our way through 2022 found footage films because there was a bunch that came out like the second half of the year. So the one we're talking today is called Chest. This is streaming on Tubi. It has only a couple of things about it. So 5 out of 10 on IMDb and a 2.7 out of 5 on Letterboxd. 3 years after cracking the Appalachia legend about a mysterious box hidden in the East Tennessee mountains, a film crew's footage is found.
That pretty much covers it. So this is funny. This is one that I was seeing a lot of people chattering about.
I've seen some stuff about this one too.
You know, it's like one of the new sort of hot ones to talk about, found footage films. So
yeah,
interested to hear what you think though about this one.
Okay, you want me to give my rating first?
Sure.
Okay. I would give Chest probably like a 3 out of 10.
Okay, so you're not a huge fan. Not a huge fan.
No, I wasn't a big fan of this one.
See, I feel like this movie has elements of movies that you have liked in the past. So I think that's interesting. I'm really curious to hear why.
Yeah.
This one is different.
Yeah.
I liked it. I would say actually the easiest thing to say about this movie is that it had my attention for the whole movie. I was into it.
Yeah.
There were things about it I didn't love, but I was really content to just sit and watch this. I enjoyed it. I didn't love it, so I will give it a 5.5 tapes out of 10.
I was gonna guess 6.
Yeah, I mean, I almost gave it a 6. I'm close there, but I'm gonna go with a 5.5. Yeah, I feel like without spoiling anything, I feel like this one has, all the hallmarks of the makings of a really good found footage film, even if it didn't quite get there in a few aspects. But I mean, generally speaking, the whole setup felt very familiar to a lot of these found footage films where a camera crew is investigating something and going deep into the woods to find whatever it is. Yeah. Everyone in town is making them wary of this decision, and some out openly like warning them not to do this.
Yeah.
And they still do. I mean,
be a short movie otherwise.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think there's a lot that felt really familiar in that aspect for me.
Yeah, I think how familiar it felt was actually a downside for me.
I wondered if that's what you're...
Yeah, it felt too... I've seen this before.
Like we're super fans of the Blair Witch Project, and we are making our own movie. Yeah.
And only tweaking like a little bit of things, like the location and the backstory. But like, I think like the other thing that was, so I don't know if that was the disconnect for what I'm about to say, but I actually was not engaged with this. It took a really long time. I did not start caring about it or being engaged until they go, there's a specific scene where they go into like, I think it's like a bar. It's like a, dinery bar. It's not like a,
I actually really like that scene.
Yes. So that's in my opinion, that's the strongest scene in the entire film. So that part was when I started paying attention. You know what I mean? Like that was the part that really like got me invested. I also think that the 2 men that they talk to while they're there are the 2 strongest actors in the entire film. I did not think that the acting was strong on pretty much any level, except for those 2 characters. That's it.
See, I thought the acting was okay. I had more issue with some of the writing. There was a
Well, maybe
lot of
that's some of it. Yeah.
there's a lot of info dump with some of those
Yeah.
interviews, which again I really like. I mean, that's kind of part of found footage.
It
You
is.
expect
It's
that sort
the
of
formula,
thing,
right?
and
Yeah.
that's the formula.
Yeah.
But there was, well, I liked a lot of the lore, and there we talk about lore on this show.
We do. Yeah.
Uh, I thought I really liked that. It wasn't particularly original, and it was a lot of info dump right at the beginning. So, um, those are probably our unspoiled
Yeah.
thoughts, right?
Yeah.
All right, let's spoil this bad boy.
Get into the meat.
Yeah,
Yeah,
go
I
for it.
think that bar scene is the strongest scene. I think that the old man, like their reactions to the old man telling the story about the panther, I thought
Mm-hmm.
that all felt very organic and
Did
natural
yep.
to me. The guy behind it, I guess like the owner or the bar, well, I don't know what his official, I can't remember if he was the owner or not, but
Yeah,
the way he treated them and how he acted was actually not stereotypical, because I feel like a lot of times we get these kids that go
yep.
on these adventures and the people are jerks to them. Like
They're
nobody wants to.
suspicious of
Yeah,
the
they're like, no, we're not
newcomers.
talking to you and yada
Yeah,
yada. So it was really nice to see somebody, or to see a character like that used in that way that was actually interested in being helpful or
yep.
informative. And then
Yep.
their realization about the house, when they're like, oh, like we went to the house, and he's like, you went to that house? Like
Yep.
they're all of that just felt so real and good to me. I
I like
loved
that.
that
Yeah.
entire scene. That was my favorite scene in the whole movie.
It got me thinking about what the house in particular, and
Yes,
what that
yes.
was, and what did they see there. And
Yeah.
I wanted more of that.
Mhm.
But we didn't really get a lot more of that. Unfortunately, that story.
And
Um,
yeah,
right?
that's true. I didn't really think about that, but you're right. It's like, and I think that was another thing. And we've talked about this with several other movies as well, but this like kind of back and forth between like I actually really appreciate misdirection when it's done
Sure.
in an effective manner, because then it kind of
Yep.
keeps you guessing, keeps you on your feet, keeps you involved in what's going on. But this I don't think was misdirection. It was just a lot of random stories that were
Right. Yeah.
like supposed to be put all together, and I kind of struggled with that.
Yeah. If
Um,
you're gonna sort of pull on those threads, you gotta like go somewhere with it. You can't just have all these hanging, storylines. Which, again, I would have loved to see where they went with some of those.
I
Because I
think, yeah,
was digging them. Yeah.
I agree. I liked a lot of I thought the way that it was shot was this is going to sound so
Yeah.
annoyingly nitpicky. I am so sorry. I thought it was too clean. The
How so?
filming,
How so?
like the film, it was like the camera was too nice or something. I don't know how to explain it. I was
Huh.
watching it and I was like,
So like I had that problem with the what was the dinosaur movie that we watched?
the Dinosaur Project.
The Dinosaur Project, of course, the one dinosaur found footage movie. I thought that movie felt too
You did
cinema,
say that.
cinema.
That's
I don't know the
okay.
word, but it felt
So
like the cinematography was too pristine.
yeah, I mean, I definitely don't quite mean it in the same way as like as far as how it was shot. I just mean the lack of filter or gradient over it that made it look more raw.
Yeah,
It was like the camera just was too nice, I guess. Like I don't really know how else to
no, I
kind of
see.
describe it.
It didn't look like real found footage. I get what you're
Right.
saying.
I like
Yeah,
the gritty kind of like out of focus sometimes, like, and this was
I
very like they had like a really nice camera, and that really bothered me. I know that's such an annoying thing, but it really did, because I was watching it and I was like,
mhm. Remind me, was this supposed to be like actual footage that was found? Because not all found footage movies are
are
found
actually
footage.
found footage
Yeah,
films.
I
Yes, this
think
one
this one
was.
wasn't
Mhm.
it? Like their
Yeah.
footage was recovered, which I hate to say it, but it's refreshing sometimes to see that in found footage, because in my opinion,
So many don't
that's
do
what
that
the
anymore.
definition of found footage is. It's footage that someone discovered.
Yep.
Um, and so many found footage films nowadays are really not that at all.
Yeah,
Um, and I miss that, so I kind of like that about this movie.
I can see that.
One
Yeah.
of the ones I guess I was gonna say. whatever, the horror in the high desert wasn't really found, was like partially found footage, I
That
guess.
was more mockumentary.
Yeah, more mockumentary, which included
But
found footage, but
Butterfly Kisses was like that. It was
definitely
actually, and that was a strength for both of us. We both really liked that about it.
love
So
that movie. Yeah, and that's one of the best, one of my favorites.
yeah,
For found
I
footage.
really enjoyed that one
Yeah.
too. Yeah,
Um,
so but yeah, that was a good that it was an actual found footage like
you know,
movie. So
and I, I, I mean, almost always, I feel like I'm not sure how many found footage movies are out there where the concept is filmmakers go into the woods. They shouldn't do it. And I it gets me every time. Like there's some really, really bad ones out there and I'll watch them and I'll eat it up.
the
Uh,
woods, yeah. Well, and I think it's
the
like
woods are scary. The
I
woods
was
are
gonna say it's
scary.
like for me, it's like underwater movies. It's like immediately it's already uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Immediately.
Yeah.
And the woods are the same way. And I mean, I thought that part was like fine, like as far as the shots in the woods when they're going in, like, but there was just some like and this is, a lot of most found footage films do this where it's a very slow build sometimes. Like sometimes like you really
Yeah.
do have to like you have to get through it to get to the really good stuff. And this was like that. I just didn't feel like the payoff was as high because by the time, we
Yeah.
got to the good stuff, like it was like too cheesy for me. Like I don't
Okay.
know, like
So what was the good stuff? Because my biggest problems with this movie were all at the very end.
well, and that's what
Like,
I mean. That's
yeah.
supposed to be the good stuff, though. In found footage, that would be all of the chaos that happens at the very end is like what I would consider in most found footage movies the good stuff, the stuff you're like
Yeah.
watching to get to. And this didn't have that. It missed it completely. Like
Yeah.
when we get to the end and all of the stuff starts coming unraveling, things start happening. Some of the like, and I think this goes back to what you were saying about the writing, but like there's that one conversation between the two guys and the girl where they're in the thing with the chest. They're like and they're like mad at each other because
Yeah.
that's a normal found footage thing too. And he's like, "Oh, go ahead and tell her that you're in love with her and like all this stuff." And I'm like, "What the hell? Come on."
We're not looking for a romance in
We
found
don't
footage
need
film.
any like
Yeah.
that was and it also like had nothing to do with anything else as far as like I don't know, like it just that took me out of like that buildup of okay, we're finally like about to like go through this. Because
Yeah.
then right after that is when he opens it, when he hits it and the chains fall off and then it opens and they're able
So
to open it.
so do you think you know what happened at the end of the movie?
No.
Yeah, I don't think I
Do
know. And
you?
that was it's one thing if I'm watching a movie and I'm not into it and I didn't like it and I don't really care whatever happens at the end. But I was into this movie
Mhm.
and then I really wanted to figure out if I missed something. So you have like the guy that sort of brings them out into the woods, who like I don't
Yes.
recall his name.
Me either.
The big hair, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That guy.
The guy
He
that was supposedly the relative of the murder people or something, that guy, right?
Yeah, and he like his grandmother like locked up in
Locked up
his
in an
house.
abandoned house.
Um,
Yeah.
so
Okay.
okay, that was one thing, and then he brings them out, and then he disappears. He leaves them all
Release him.
in the woods, so which is suspicious. And they wake up in the middle of the night, and again, this is a common trope in these films, or they're in their tents and there's noise outside the tent, so they come out to investigate. And in this case, there's people on horseback, cloaked
But they
figures.
even this was what frustrated me. They even did the hands on the tent thing. That's straight Blair Witch Project.
Yes, yeah,
When that happened, I think I got like really annoyed. I was like, come on. Like,
right.
anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Now, but they did show things in this, unlike Blair Witch.
Well,
You
sure.
see
Yeah, they did show, but I
some like
think
old ladies on horses. I think I'm not
in
sure.
like, I don't know.
Robes. They don't
Yeah.
say anything. They go away. Um, Eventually, yeah, they find this cave. They open the box, and some curse maybe is unleashed
I
on them.
guess.
Uh,
I kind of thought it was like a Pandora's box kind of thing.
yeah, or something like that.
Yeah.
But then one of them's dragged off into the woods,
Yep.
and then the last the sole survivor. The final girl, she gets captured in somebody's vehicle, and I don't even know how he's connected. It's
And
just
he's like
it sort of had like a whole like small town protecting the secret
conspiracy kind of thing. Yeah.
kind of thing, but like what were they protecting? They already opened the box.
And that's what he says. He's like, no, they opened it. Or he says something to that effect.
Yeah. So I didn't get that either at the end. And that is pretty much how the
They
movie
really
ends.
should have had it be somebody we'd already been like introduced to.
Yeah, I was because you're like, oh, who's? I mean, I guess the trick was, oh, this. Obviously, nobody was fooled that this was just some nice trucker who picked her up. I
Oh,
knew
right.
right off the bat he was going to be bad news, but I think that's why it was an unknown person because you're supposed to maybe not know, maybe be surprised that he was bad. Um,
Yeah.
I'm not sure though. Um, this movie we found it on Tubi, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Um,
People were talking about this
they
one
still
though.
are. They still are actually. There's a
Like,
lot
I
of
think
people.
I sent you a picture of somebody that had posted about like saying I think really great things. I'm pretty sure, or
Yeah.
maybe it was just a now watching. I can't remember, but I've
So
I've been seeing it kind of like
I,
circling around on Twitter.
I think it's because really honestly, I think people love sort of the feel of Blair Witch. Kind of like I'm saying, I really
It's
love this movie. There's
nostalgic.
people that will watch Blair Witch esque movies, as many times as they're made. So I think that's what this phenomenon is because it doesn't feel particularly different. There's even a lot of found footage movies we've seen and not talked about on this show that even um, are similar and probably as good as this movie that we haven't even talked about yet. So it's not particularly different. Um, I would.
I really struggled that. I go into found footage specifically wanting to see something different because all of the ones
Oh,
that are big hitters for us, the ones that we love, not necessarily just on the channel, but as the fans that we are, they're all unique. They all
yeah,
bring something very like we don't like at least I don't think we do. I don't think either of us have a top list of found footage that the movies are all the same types. They're all
no,
unique and different to the subgenre and that's what I go in looking for. So when it's like some moments are scene for scene from another one, especially the big one that kind of set the groundwork for the
yeah,
popularity of found footage, it bugs me because I'm like we've even watched some and other movies not even related to found footage that have obvious influences or have drawn muse from something else, right?
mhm,
But it's done in a more under like a subtle way, I guess.
yeah. I
And
mean,
this was a lot more like obvious and like in your face.
I think I think found footage is tough to come up with. Even though we see every now and again a completely new um, take on the genre. I think it is challenging to always be coming up with original ideas, which is why you're seeing a lot of stuff where they're filming from their Zoom video or their laptop computer or
Yeah.
I don't know, different cameras, security cameras around the house. You've seen a few like that, but even those now, pretty much everything you can think of, it's been done a few times at this point. So when you do something new and original, it's surprising, and I think it's hard to do. I think you can
Yeah.
do stuff in this vein, and it could still be good. It could still be unique. You just gotta put your own spin on it. And I don't think this had quite enough of its own spin, even though I liked it. And I keep saying that I did really like
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, I think because we know that how hard it can be to be completely original or really original when you're making a found footage movie specifically. Like that's why I'm always impressed so much when I can find the ones that are. That's
Yeah,
why when I see the ones like when we watched Savage Land, I mean, my mind was literally blown. I could not believe
yeah.
I had not seen that one yet. And it was so different and so unique and terrifying and unsettling in more than one way. And it was like, but that was one of the reasons I think it was like so like
Yeah.
literally like I was just like, oh my God, for days after I watched it. And I think it's because it was able to do something
And
totally unique.
I think mockumentaries like that, and I think we call that a mockumentary, right? Like,
Yeah.
it lends itself more to being a little bit more creative. I think there's only so many times you can go out into the woods with your cameras and have it be really a different
And
movie.
make it believable. That's the
Yeah.
other thing, is like, because that's happened a few times where like something will have like a really great premise, but then it like loses its believability like halfway through. You're like, okay, but at this point, like you would have already given up and gone home,
Yep.
or I will say I think that the strengths are some of it does. I really liked the bar scene a lot. I think that building a story the way that they did through storytelling, specifically in that scene, if there had been more of that, this would have gotten probably a higher rating for me. But too much like the back and forth stuff, I don't know, like I just felt like the ending was really anticlimactic too. And because the other thing I was thinking about too is, this the camera angle when she's in the, I guess it's the truck right at the very end when she's in the with the guy, like I was even fine with the way that that was filmed, but it should have been somebody we knew, and it would have been even better if it was somebody that we had trusted. Like if it had been the old guy that saw the panther, like if it had been him, I would have been like,
oh, good ending. Yeah. That would have been a better ending.
That would have been better.
I still don't know if that would have made any sense. I mean, it makes sense, but it's like, okay,
they could have turned it into a sacrifice story about telling people a bunch of stories, getting them intrigued enough to go out there and then doing it themselves. And I don't know. There's plenty of things that could have been done with it. I just think that making that person a stranger was like not good, because I have no idea who that is.
So you say Savage Land is a found footage movie that's been one of the more unique movies we've seen recently. Can you think of any others that like really felt different?
Yeah, The Monster Project.
Yeah, that's really different.
I really think Gonjiam is a really original thing too. Although this, I'm kind of a sucker for the content creating stuff. I just genuinely, because we've seen content creators in real life do really crazy things.
There's tons of those content creator though.
There's but not all of them hit though. But Gonjiam I felt like was really original. So was Noroi the Cursed.
That's really the Cursed. Gonjiam is one of the scariest.
That is by far
maybe the scariest. See, I actually don't know that's super, in my opinion, that's super unique, because it's a camera crew goes into a haunted location to film it. And that you have seen many, it's content creator. But that felt really familiar, even though it's super well done and also unique at the same time.
I think the fake out stuff is what I really liked about it. It kind of reminded me a little bit of Grave Encounters.
I thought,
but it was still different. It was still different. I also know a lot about that movie behind the scenes that kind of drive a love for it too. So, but I definitely would say The Monster Project, Savage Land, the one we're going to talk about next week. I'm trying to think off the top of my head.
You think that one was different?
I mean, what other one do you know that's filmed that way? None.
That's
Zero.
True. Yeah. In that exact way. Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. What are some that you think? I know
was the Leslie Vernon one.
That's pretty unique.
Serial killer. Yeah, I thought that was really
a pretty unique one.
When it came out, Creep.
Creep was different. Now there's a bunch of those.
Now everyone's doing people found footage.
That's what happens though, and you kind of hit on this a second ago. It's like one of something comes out and it's really successful, and then everyone's just like jumping on, and then you just see like a bunch of them.
When I saw, which interestingly we've never done it on the show, Host. When that came out, which I loved it.
I don't know.
I thought, oh man, what a cool, unique idea! They did this during the pandemic.
Yeah.
I feel like there were before Host. Like, if you actually look, there are found footage movies filmed in a similar fashion. Maybe not.
Unfriended is one of them.
Yeah.
That came out a couple years prior and was done by MTV.
Yeah, there are a few. I mean, obviously, Host did it best, and
I think
more of the Zoom sort of like capitalized on everyone
Isolation.
Isolation,
Yeah.
all of that. So it was different. It was
Post is
very
very
different.
unique, though.
Very unique,
I
yeah.
agree with that one.
Um,
think.
yeah, I'd have to think more.
What about
I mean,
Incantation?
Incantation's really different.
Yeah, it's really
But it's like
different.
some of these though aren't found footage. Some of them are.
That's
Well,
true.
meaning like they're not like
I know what you mean.
they're not found. They're not found. They're just
Yeah,
footage.
they're just footage.
Yeah. And so I do love though, like this movie we're talking about, Chess. I do like it when we actually do get footage that has been discovered. What
Found
was the
footage
one
3D. That's another one that's really unique.
found footage 3D? Oh, what's the one was Butterfly Kisses? Yeah, we said Butterfly
Butterfly
Kisses.
Kisses is a really unique one.
Um,
That's probably most of
I
it.
can't think.
But
Yeah,
see, that like we both have such. It's so funny because we definitely like similar things. We feel similarly about things. Sometimes we both hate
yeah.
Hereditary. Like we definitely have similar boxes to be checked. But what makes, in my humble opinion, what makes our conversation so interesting is how vastly different we look at found footage, because
Yeah.
we do not look at found footage through the same lens, almost like never. That's why when our scores are close, we're both like,
No pun
what?
intended. No pun intended. We don't look at found footage through the same lens.
That was totally unintended. But yeah, no, I mean, I think is and it's like this is obviously not the worst one we've watched. I think it had some
No.
things that really could be polished, and not the camera because that's polished enough, but everything else, like there's just some things that like I didn't walk away feeling like everything in the movie was like weak. I feel like it had some strengths.
And see, I really did enjoy 90% of this movie, and I think would have had a better rating for me. And I knew that it wasn't the most unique thing in the world. I still liked it. And
yeah,
you could say that about a lot of things that people like and go and watch. Like
sure,
a lot of slasher movies are not particularly unique, but they're still a hell of a lot of fun to watch. And
yeah,
I don't know, sometimes you just want a found footage movie that reminds you of why you like found footage movies in the first place. And I think that's what I liked about this. And then didn't love the end, but other than that, this was a solid one for me. But it would have been a 6 or 6.5, if not for the kind of disappointing ending.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Well, that's Chest.
2022. It's on Tubi.
Get out and watch it.
Next week we are talking Unknown Visitor, which is also on Tubi.
That's right.
And it's done by the same guy that did Mr. Creep.
Which you can watch our review of on an earlier episode.
Yep, that's on the playlist.
I think off the top of my head, I think is his name Isaac Rodriguez.
Isaac, that's it. I remembered the last name. I couldn't remember the first name. That's right. No, you're right.
Yep. Very different than Mr. Creep.
Very different than Mr. Creep. Yeah, so we'll be talking about that one next week. It's on Tubi. You can watch it so that you're up to date when you hear our thoughts on it next week. So,
cool. All right.
Well, thank you so much for hanging out with us again on Found Footage Friday. Have a good weekend coming up and a great week that follows, and we will see you guys next week.
See you next week.